Hey, Alex and Kent, and we are going to go over our recap of everything we did this week. Most of our work was transition from the side mount to our full mount. Important to make that transition technical, not a scramble. So we're hitting all the points in our transition. Once we achieved mount, we ran through a lot of attack series, but today we're going to focus on one of the more fun, kind of one of our Friday night materials, our triangle from mount. This is not, to me, a fundamental movement of Jiu-Jitsu, but the triangle is a fundamental movement, and this is a chance to apply it at a little bit more intermediate advanced level. So, let's walk through how I'm going to apply triangle from the mount. So we made a good transition, good fundamental transition. I'm in mount. One of the first things I want to try and do, particularly for this, is walk to my high mount. So I'm going to get a knee high underneath the shoulder, and if I can get this other up as well, I will. So I'm really up here and I'm isolating these arms. Notice too, as I get to high mount, I'm not over his hips. If I'm back on Ken's hips, and Ken goes to oompa, look how much effect that has on me, right? He can really move me by elevating those hips. Conversely, once I get up to high mount, I'll go ahead and look how much less I'm affected by those really violent oompas. Once I'm off that platform, I'm much less affected by it. So we're going to walk to our high mount. From here, I'm going to bring one even higher. As I use my elbow to scoop his elbow, I'm going to take a step higher with one foot, one knee. Now I'm going to have this up off his shoulder. The other thing I'm going to do is bring this hand under and I'm going to trap his head. This hand's out for base, just like we do our pressure mount maintenance. And the importance of this hand can't be understated. If I leave Ken's head on the floor, he can go ahead and he can start bridging really hard because he's got a nice fulcrum there, right? And he can drive. But if I get underneath here, my knee's high, my arm's under here, and I take this head off the mat, and bridge, this becomes much less of a fulcrum, and it becomes way easier to ride this fight out. So from here, I've started my isolation. I'm going to shift my weight to this knee that I have high. That weight shift is going to let this leg become very mobile over here. My hand's going to come up, and for the start to learn this technique, we're going to go through a little bit of an artificial walkthrough, and this will become more fluid as you progress it in open mat. I'm going to grab the wrist, I'm going to put the wrist on the ground. This is going to open his bicep. From here, again, not much weight on this foot because I'm on my knee, step to the bicep. Once I've stepped to the bicep, I'm going to switch hands. Hand comes underneath, and again, look what I'm doing to his head, keeping it off the mat. This hand comes out to base. Now I've got my base on this foot, I got my base on this hand. I'm keeping this hand like I'm trying to touch my chest. As I go into this next phase, I don't want to pull on Kent's neck. Kent's really strong. I can pull with my arm. Go ahead and keep your head on the ground. I can pull pretty hard with my bicep and not get this up. But if I switch hands, I think about gluing this hand to my chest. And now I use my core. Now I can lift his head. And I can lift it very efficiently despite him pushing all of his strength into this. So once I'm here, I expose all of this space underneath him. I'm going to let this foot go. I'm going to dig deep, bringing my heel all the way over to my knee. And look at this control I have. My hamstring is against his carotid artery. My calf is across the back of his neck. My heel is touching my knee. There's very little space for him to get away here. Once I'm in this position, pass in front. This should start to look like a triangle from the guard. They are exactly the same motion. We're just applying it from a slightly different angle. So, first thing I do is temporary lock. If everything goes south from here, I want to keep this control no matter what happens. So my palm grabs right over my shin, no thumb. Now I have control. Big mistake I see a lot of people do here when they do triangle from the mount is they try and triangle the legs here. And this is really awkward. There's no space. You can see my foot's glued to the mat because of our position. So from here, I'm going to take my head at about a 45-degree angle here, and I'm going to put it on the mat. As my head goes down, watch what happens to this foot. My head goes to the mat, and you can see the space open up underneath my foot. That makes my triangle very easy. As I set my triangle position, I flare my heel out, and that's taking that space away, and it's applying the choke properly. And to finish, I'm going to take my hips. I'm going to put my hips right over the choke. There we go. So, very fundamental movement in the Jiu-Jitsu with the triangle, very intermediate to advanced application because we're doing that from the mount. And it's more advanced because we have more balance issues, we have more weight transfer, we have all these little intrinsic things that you have to be doing Jiu-Jitsu for a while first to understand before we're going to start applying it in an attack posture. So, One of the fun things we did from this week, Alex Kent, we'll see you next week when we break into the guard.